Charlie forces a laugh. Did Uncle Ant tell you this, or... Oh God, yes, you know what he's like. Esther watches Charlie carefully. Rosanna is trying to plait Oliver's hair, much to Oliver's irritation. Clara continues. You should totally bring him to ours tomorrow. Esther meets her eye and grins. Oh my God, yes! We go to their house every year for Boxing Day, and boyfriends and girlfriends are always welcome. But so far that has only included Clara's numerous and ever-changing boyfriends, 3 of which have been called Chris, all 3 of which looked almost identical. Charlie smiles awkwardly. I think he's doing stuff with his family tomorrow. Clara pouts. Oh, that's a shame. And then her piercing gaze swaps to me. What about you, Tori? Any lovely men in your life? I fight down the urge to hysterically laugh. No. No. Clara does the laughing for me. Oh gosh, you're not missing much, I promise you that. Straight boys are the absolute worst. She points her fork towards Oliver. Let's all hope that this one turns out better. He totally might not be straight. Esther finally pitches in. Her voice sounds startlingly like Clara's, though she doesn't quite look the made in Chelsea posh girl part. I think I like Esther more than Clara. We've had some okay conversations about Doctor Who. You're so right, says Clara, leaning on one hand, gazing at Oliver like he's a newborn. Charlie, when did you know you were gay? Charlie's eyes widen in fear at the prospect of having to embark on this conversation, but thankfully, at that moment, Dad appears at the head of the table, still with his apron on over his shirt and waistcoat, and a Christmas cracker crown hanging dangerously off the top of his head. How's everybody doing over here? He looks specifically at Charlie and claps him on the shoulder. Everyone doing okay? For the first time, I have a look at Charlie's plate. He does appear to have eaten some of it, which is a very good sign, since Charlie didn't even like roast dinner much before he got ill. However, he hasn't eaten half as much as the rest of us, and Dad's making that fact painfully obvious to everyone present. Clara and Esther and all the family know that Charlie was in the hospital, and that it wasn't a normal type of hospital, but I don't think they know exactly why he had to go there. What happened? Mum and Dad don't ever talk about it. They refuse to talk about it. We're fine, I say, before anyone else can beat me to it. Dad meets my eyes and gives me a little nod. All righty, let me know if you need any more to drink. He wanders back to his table. Clara starts having a loud conversation with Esther about how turkeys are cared for and then slaughtered. They seem to get on quite well, like Charlie and I do, which is cool. I have no idea what it must be like to have a sister, but I expect it's useful to be able to share clothes. Charlie turns to me and says quietly, He's so pestery. I don't really want to say it, but I do anyway. I think he might just be worried. Charlie rolls his eyes. Can't I just have a normal... But his voice dies away and he goes back to staring at his phone. He doesn't say much more for the whole meal, which means that I have to suffer through a horrific question and answer session from Rosanna about all of my school friends. Then Esther wants an update on what TV shows I watch, and then Clara gets started on the whole, so, what are you thinking about the university thing? To which my answer is simply, I'm not. Charlie keeps taking out his phone and texting under the table, which kind of starts to piss me off, but I don't really want to annoy him, as everyone else in this family is doing that already. I manage to escape the cousin trio after dinner and sit quietly with Grandma, who has fallen asleep on the sofa, so I check my own phone. 11:07, Becky Allen. Lol, I'm so glad I'm an only child. 11:09, Merry Christmas, you insomniac. 11:10, love you, baby. 12:22, Dad got me new Call of Duty. See you in my next life. 14:01, Mum is so drunk already. Can your family adopt me? 14:54, Mum is dancing on a chair. 14:59, hashtag save Becky. How are you feeling anyway, Charlie? Uncle Ant's voice snaps my attention away from my phone. Uncle Ant is very much like Clara, big on gossip, big on talking about deep things, generally very irritating. He's a large man, sort of a large version of Dad, but without a beard, and always looks out of place with his absolutely minuscule wife. He's sitting on a chair on the outer side of the room, facing Charlie, who's next to me on the sofa. Charlie's eyes widen as he searches for something to say. Oh, I'm much better now. It's so nice that you could come back for Christmas. Can't imagine what Christmas must be like in a place like that. Noticeable tension draws up around us. The grandparents are luckily all having a separate conversation on the other sofa, and Mum and Dad are absent from the room, but Uncle Ant and Aunt Jules, all our cousins and various miscellaneous relatives now have their full attention on Charlie. Charlie's hands curl into fists. Actually, it was pretty good there, he says. Like, They were all really helpful and nice, and it all got decorated for Christmas, so, yeah. I really need to think of something to say to stop this conversation, but as always, I can't think of anything. Oh, I'm sure, continues Uncle Ant, but you hear some horror stories, don't you? White walls and straitjackets and all. Aunt Jules laughs and whacks Uncle Ant playfully on the arm. Oh, come on now, Antonio. No mental hospitals are really like that. This isn't the 1950s, darling. She shoots a creepily wide grin at Charlie. We're all very happy that Charlie's all better and back with us, aren't we? Absolutely, says Uncle Ant. Thanks, says Charlie, but he looks like he's about to throw up. And how are you, Tori? Asks Aunt Jules. How's sixth form going? I begin to recite the classic answer to this question. It's fine. It's a lot harder than GCSEs. It's nice not to have to do PE anymore. And as I do, Charlie gets up and leaves the room. I excuse myself and follow him at my earliest opportunity, trying not to hate Aunt Jules as much as I actually do. It baffles me sometimes that people can just say stuff like that people can have no idea about things. I wander down the hallway and almost go to enter the kitchen, but stop when I see Charlie and Mum inside, standing in front of each other as if they're having a sort of face-off. Do you want us to talk about it or do you not want us to talk about it? You're being very immature, Charlie. How am I being immature? You're acting like a baby who just wants everyone's attention all of the time. I don't want people's attention, that's the problem. Mum rips her washing up gloves off her hands. Look, everyone's aware that this is a difficult Christmas for you, but the least you could do would be to let everyone else have a nice time, even if you're determined to feel as sorry for yourself as possible. It's just you people who are feeling sorry for me. It's pissing me off. Language! Half the time you refuse to even acknowledge that I have a fucking problem, and the other half you try as hard as possible to make me feel like I'm fucking disabled. And that's when Mum snaps. Get out! She points towards the door. Just get out! Charlie doesn't say anything at all. He turns around, walks away, exits the room, and finds me there. Mum disappears out of view, and Charlie stands there looking down at me. I'm going to Nick's, he says, in what he tries to make a calm voice. Oh, I say. He turns around and starts putting his shoes on. Please don't, I say. I can't. He stands back up. I can't deal with... He points towards the living room and the kitchen. All of that. It's Christmas, though, I say. Let's be honest, he continues as if he hadn't heard me. I'm just the joke of the family anyway. You're not. He reaches into the porch and grabs his coat. This winter's been the fucking worst. He picks up a spare key and opens the door. It's raining. The cold comes in. I want to cry. I want to do anything to stop him from leaving. Can't you at least spend Christmas with me? I say. He turns back. His eyes are watery. His jeans are supposed to be skinny, but they're just baggy on him. What does that mean? You spend all of your time with Nick anyway. He starts shouting at me. That's because he treats me as something other than a fucking anorexic. I stay quite still. I do too, I say, but my voice trails off. Sorry, he says, but he's already leaving. I'll see you later. The door closes, and I don't move. I look down at my grey skirt, and I really wish I was wearing jeans. I don't feel like myself. I realise I still have my cracker crown on, so I take it off and tear it into several pieces. I probably should have seen this coming. He's being unfair, but I don't have any right to be annoyed at him. I walk back into the kitchen. Mum is still washing up. I walk up to her, and her face looks like stone, like ice maybe. There's a pause, and then she says, You know I'm trying my best. I know she is, but her best isn't really good enough, and it shouldn't be about how she feels anyway. I walk out of the kitchen and sit on the stairs. Oliver runs past me with one of his new tractors. I go into the porch and open the door to see whether Charlie is just sitting on the curb at the end of our driveway, but he isn't. Winter is usually my favourite season, but Charlie's right. This winter has been the worst. I sit down on the porch, my feet sticking out of the doorframe. There are some fairy lights outside someone's house across the road, but the more I look at them, the dimmer they seem to get. It doesn't feel like Christmas. I think I'm trying my best too. I sit with him at every mealtime, even when he cries and shouts at me. I ask him how he is every day, and sometimes he tells me. I started being his friend as well as his sister. Not that that matters. I don't matter. He matters. A car drives past. It's getting sort of dark now. Dark and cold and rainy. I think about how nice that is, and then I laugh to myself. Since when did they become my favourite things?